All right. Hey, class. My name is Michael Fazio, and this is going to go ahead and be my business continuity plan for the Alaska Club South, located here in Fairbanks, Alaska. Let's go ahead and get started. Just a quick overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to give a quick intro and background, why I kind of chose this, the executive summary, my objectives, the relocation, along with some assumptions that had to be made, uh, the risk assessment, the critical functions, the RTO and RPO, the immediate action plan, training and testing, and finally, where I kind of got my information. So finally, the Alaska Club. I currently work here. I am a sophomore here at the University of Fairbanks, and so it's a good part-time job for me. This project specifically has given me a lot more information on where I work, something I wouldn't have gone into if it wasn't for this project. So I'm kind of thankful for that. It is located here, as I said, and it's been working to provide physical fitness needs for over 40 years. It's also not the only club. It is one of a network of clubs. We have one more here in Fairbanks, a smaller club, some in Anchorage, Wasilla, and all throughout Alaska entirely. And the great thing is that it's a membership club that provides a multitude of resources such as tracks, pools, saunas, personal trainers, courts, and many other things that are really important during those cold Alaska months that we see here. When we look at the executive summary, this is a physical fitness business, and so their main mission for the BCP is to ensure that they are reducing hazards to their lowest level and preparing for all possible risks to critical functions that it could see, while highlighting also staff needs and membership, not necessarily spacing, but membership faulties or what they may need or may not be prepared for. The objectives, as I said, that's the word I was looking for, but to educate the personnel. This can mean the functions that are needed for the staff members that work here at the club. There are many different subsections within the organization where people have different assigned tasks that tie into the BCP. It also kind of works to educate the public and the users of the facility what should happen in the event of one of these emergency scenarios. And then also to overall lower the threats that are imposed on those critical functions, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the key tasks that they look to do so that they are staying at the optimal range so functions are not dampened. The relocation and the assumptions. As I said, this is a private business. Some of the information was rather hard to get at times. And the relocation is very interesting because of it being a facility where all things are on site. If an event such as, let's say, a fire, an earthquake, or another hazard occurs, there is no backup site where operations can continue. That major site needs to be repaired, and so that all plays into the RTOs and RPOs. The only other option is halting of membership for members. Instead of paying a fee, they'd be halted, or there's also the other sites that they have the ability to use. All right, finally, the risk assessment. There were quite a few that I could have done. The critical functions, I limited it down to what I could find and could most expand on. Uh, for risk assessment, I just put a quick graph in here, something I did early on and thought would kind of overview it a little better. Ones that we would face a lot, which was fire, a power outage, pool chemicals, because we are one of the only places or only clubs that provide a pool specifically in Fairbanks' two clubs. Uh, Big problems that can come out here. We have a large number of patrons, so it's important to put their safety first and have staff knowledgeable of what to do in the event of one of these emergencies that will be the most likely to hurt the most people. I personally work at the pool, so I had a lot of knowledge of this. how dangerous can be working with some of these high chemicals. Especially during COVID-19, we have to up kind of the sanitation. And so the amount of chemicals that are around the pool and other physical fitness equipment is super important to know what's going on. The risk that they all pose is obviously a fire and power outage. A fire can hurt many people. The power outage, when you're using physical fitness equipment, can be very dangerous. Not having people with power, not being able to see where they're going. People in a pool, when there's no power, no chemicals being pumped, no heating, they can drown. Obviously, all of these risks. These are something that every single employee knows on staff. You're trained immediately about what to do in the event. We actually have boards listed all over the facility as well for patrons so that they know of the protocol that would be enacted if something were to occur like this. Critical functions. I focused on two main critical functions that I could find while talking to the executive manager and the operations manager of the facility, and that was membership and sanitation. Personally, right now, the biggest one that I saw was sanitation. It's something that is ongoing every hour of the day, along with membership. Membership is that high revenue part of the business. Without that function, the business could not survive. Is what brings in our new members. It initiates them, gets their paperwork filled out. We get their contact information in case of an emergency so we can contact them or family members. And it also deals with existing members and what we do to serve them and keep them on as customers. The sanitation part, though, is big in keeping those customers. They're known, the Alaska clubs throughout the state, for having a very clean environment. And so if that sanitation or that level of care went down, we would see a loss in membership and revenue, which is very detrimental to the business. The other problem is new guidelines based on COVID. If sanitation is not met to code, this also includes that the club does take temperatures for people, although they do not require masks. If it is found that an outbreak occurs in the facility, it could have adverse effects on the company, even closing down of facilities. RTO and RPO, just to follow in suit with the critical functions of the facility that I just mentioned. Sanitation membership. Sanitation is one of those ones that needs to happen very quickly. Daily, this is checked, and if we do have cases come back or people with high temperatures come in, it can have really high adverse effects on the company. Membership, on the other hand, the RTO for that is about a day. It helps log us, let us know who's in the facility at what time, and also how do we get in contact with people? How do we bill people? As far as new membership goes, it starts to become a real problem once we hit around the 1 month area for our RPO. If it doesn't reach this area, then is when we see the adverse side effects. We start seeing a loss in membership, a loss in revenue. It's going to affect not only the membership, but the staff as well, because with loss in revenue, the staff members are affected. It can also change how the BCP operates and can cause a change in layout or emergency planning procedures. Now, the immediate action plan. This is an overall summary of what I found and what I've listed in my BCP as kind of what would happen in the event of a large number of emergencies. The emergencies I've listed, we go everywhere from fire to a chemical leak to a physical altercation or civil unrest, just because of how many people there are. So the basic first start off is going to be that the executive, the facility, and the supervisory managers are all going to initiate the BCP and push it out to the different departments throughout the facility. Secondly, the staff is going to go ahead and begin the evacuation procedures for different subsets of emergencies. Most often, they will be pushed out of the facility or to different subsets of the facility, depending on what is needed. Then, after that, the general manager will go ahead and contact any emergency personnel needed. This includes fire, EMS, and or law enforcement. We're then going to go ahead and push out any information we need to our stakeholders through email that is on file through membership, or through the mobile application that they have for all members to sign in and get information for the club. Finally, they're going to go ahead and conduct, my apologies, an overview of all personnel that were in the facility along with staff, and begin assessing what is it going to take to fix the risks that occurred, and what is the change in the RTO to get things back and running. One of the last ones is training and testing. This is one that was hard. As I said, a lot of the information was confidential. It couldn't be pushed out to me. But employee training is obviously done upon recruitment. It's then also been added now with updates and changes to the BCP that it will be monthly and annual training as well, depending on the department and what your jobs are in the BCP. Your tasks will be tested to you personally. And then also weekly changes are being made due to COVID-19, and we must be trained on them weekly to make sure that the company stays within regulation. Finally, this is my last slide, and it just talks about the resources real quick. A lot of my resources, I want to say 80%, were on site. I had to talk to a lot of people in person. These were my bosses, their bosses, heads up. The actual branch head is, I'm correct, in New York. So getting some of the information was difficult, but they had a lot of resources for me, and I really appreciated all the work they did with me. Specifically the two facility managers that know what is going on a daily basis and help to write the BCPs. And then finally, there are prior BCPs that I use to gain some of the data, some of the resources, and graphs that I use in my BCP I imported and also used to write this PowerPoint. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. I really appreciate you guys listening. I hope your projects go really well, and you guys have a great rest of the semester. Thanks.